What's going on, guys? It's Anoying Bro 5. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I see a lot of other Fiora mains and one-tricks worrying about the new item sets and how Fiora is not as strong as she used to be because of the changes that were made to Ravenous, and I'd like to give my thoughts on that and also discuss what Mythic's Fiora should be taking this season. First, we have to understand what Riot's intentions of these item changes were.
Mythic Forge unlocks all new ways to master your favorite champions. Now with Mythic items, you have more builds, playstyles, and team strategies to choose from, which means more variety from game to game. Each game, you'll choose one Mythic item to form the core of your build and adapt your champion to whatever dangers lie ahead.
Riot wants to make the items varied based on each team comp in order to make the playstyles different. I know that there were many builds for Fiora, some including Manamune, some including Bork, and all these different playstyles, especially mixing in different runes. But let's be honest, the majority of us Fiora mains were just rushing Ravenous into Trinity into Death's Dance 90% of the games. I mean, JJ King didn't even change up his build half the time anyway. And if we're being honest, the majority of champions in League of Legends had core builds like this where there wasn't much variation between items. So I understand the idea that Riot is going for, and I'll give my whole opinion on this and how it was executed later on in the video.
Here, the recommended tab simplifies item buying no matter who you're playing or who you're playing against, serving you suggestions based on your current item build and team matchup.
Now for the recommended tab, I would like to just add that it is not the most reliable as of the date this video is being posted. I understand they're trying to use intelligent data to suggest the best items, but no amount of technology will be able to tell your role in your comp versus theirs. I would just like to give that knowledge now so that way people don't rely entirely on it. It's still very good for new players, but if you know what you're doing with items, don't look for that to be your answer. Now, for what the majority of my viewers are asking, what Mythic is the best and why should I use it? Well, using the new information about varied playstyles, there is no set Mythic to spam for Fiora, but there will be a variation depending on your role in the team comp. I will say that there is a priority of which Mythic is better, and we'll get into that right now. So, when you get to champ select, the first question you should ask is, do I need mobility or slows? Also, is the enemy squishy? If yes, you want Stridebreaker. The item is really strong as it almost has a Blade of the Ruined King active since it slows, while also giving the time at active so you could pop vitals. It's also a really fun Mythic to use as the dash can be very useful and allow you to maneuver your way through team fights. There was a couple times where it actually seemed like I was zooming across the map, nobody could stop me, I was dodging everyone's skill shots, and it's honestly probably my favorite Mythic, but it comes at the cost of not having that great damage. Now, if you ask those questions of did I need mobility and slows and is the enemy squishy and the answer is no, then the next question you should ask is if the enemy team wants extended trades and have a lot of burst kill pressure. If yes, then you want Gore Drinker. This Mythic still gives you the time at active to pop vitals, but the main reason this item is good is that the sustain you get from it is really strong. This season is all about high damage and killing your opponent in 2 seconds. Fiora's life pool is fairly small, so you will die very quickly if you do not have this Mythic into a heavy burst damage comp. From my experience, I've turned many teamfights around just using this Mythic alone based on the lifesteal. Now, if neither of those apply and your own team lacks a lot of damage, I would go Trinity. Trinity is the option that gives you the most damage output and will allow you to kill people with just 3 auto attacks of your ultimate vitals depending on the champion. A lot of people complain about not having the active, but honestly, you don't need it in most scenarios because you will be deleting everybody when you fight them. Remember, this new season is all about high damage, and if there is no high damage on your team, say you have a Galio mid and a Mumu that's going tank in the jungle, you're going to be the one that's going to be laying down this damage. And Trinity would be the way to go. Finally, the last Mythic for Fiora would be Divine Sunderer. Basically, Divine Sunderer is the Walmart version of Trinity. Now, considering all tanks are overtuned to hell and back, such as Ornn and Malphite, this item will most likely be the option to take as you won't do diddly squat to a tank with Stridebreaker or Gore Drinker. I've tried this item a couple of times, and it just feels like a weaker Trinity Force mixed with Black Cleaver in a sense. Overall, it's an alright item if you need to take it because the enemy team is extremely tanky, but let's be honest, we don't play Fiora to be shredding tanks, we play Fiora to be all over the map, dashing all over the place, feeling like a goddamn Dragon Ball Z character. So it sucks to say that this item is viable for Fiora into these tanks, but it seems like there is no answer for these Malphite and Ornn players because the tanks are just doing so much. Now, For my thoughts overall, I like what Riot is trying to do. At first, people didn't like the elemental dragons and they thought they were broken, but we started to get used to it over time. I feel the same thing will apply to these item changes. I feel that I need more time to make a complete opinion on the next season, but I feel like the meta is shifting towards assassins and tanks as they're the ones finding most success so far in this preseason. It also sucks because the champions that we've grown to love over this long period of time, I've played since Season 4, we are starting to get a separation because champions like Fiora aren't going to be what she was like before this item rework. It's completely changing her playstyle, and this is happening to many other champions as well. Some are getting buffs, some are getting nerfs. But it feels like Fiora is getting a pretty hard hit, especially since that Ravenous item was broken into 2 pieces. That being said, how does this season look for Fiora? I think she will not be as strong as she was last season, as she was doing tons of damage as well as gaining so much lifesteal, but I do believe that Fiora will be very strong nonetheless. I think the learning curve on Fiora will be a lot harder as she is more dependent on hitting her vitals since there is less lifesteal overall in her build in the laning phase. The reason I say this is that you are most likely going to be rushing your Mythic, whereas previously we were rushing Ravenous Hydra, which gave us so much sustain early. But in this case, you're spending 3,300 gold on a Mythic, and then you can start building something like Ravenous, which again doesn't give you that much lifesteal as it used to. Now, the other reason I think that there's going to be a larger learning curve is that Fiora doesn't have the largest health pool, so she will be getting one-shotted since there is so much damage in the game. If you guys ever feel unconfident in a matchup, please feel free to go to my Mobifier guide where I describe each matchup and what you should look for in order to win lane. I take a lot of pride in this guide, so make sure to give it a thumbs up. I update the guide at least once a week, and I will be continuing to update it as the preseason continues. Also, look at this chart. I mean, that's crazy. 95% of you guys aren't subscribed, so please do yourself a favor and do me a favor and show your support by hitting that subscribe button. You can also follow me on my Twitch at twitch.tv/AnoyingBro5. I stick very close to my schedule and I talk to chat nonstop. Good luck in this preseason, feel free to give me feedback, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.